All right, Penn Nation, listen up, guys. In this crazy sport that we all love of mixed martial arts, we all know that styles make fights and that some athletes only know how to go out there and compete in the most entertaining way possible. The blood and guts warriors that leave it all on the line every time they compete and show their true heart in that cage or octagon. Our next guest is one of those guys and somebody I've had the pleasure of working with over the years. Please welcome to the show the bad boy himself, Leonard Garcia. What is the good word, Leonard? How have you been, man? It's been a while, my friend.
Life is good, man. Just like I said, I was enjoying the retired life, and then got a phone call from a close personal friend telling me about some stuff that was going on, and decided to kind of chime in, and it rang a couple bells. So I don't know. I might be coming out of retirement soon. Maybe doing a couple bare knuckle fights, and I don't know yet. We're still seeing where it's all going to end up.
All right. Well, listen. I wanted to get to all of that stuff, but since it's been such a long time since I think you've even done an interview with a media outlet, I just wanted to catch up on what life has been like for you during retirement. What have you been up to? What are you doing to keep busy?
Life is good, man. I'm working over at a company called Automation X. I am doing oil and gas. Living in Texas. There's you're either gonna just settle down and be a family man. I live in a small city, Plainview, Texas. So there's not very much to do there. It's factory work and warehouse work, or the oil field, and I had a little knowledge, in electrical and instrumentation before I started fighting. So I just followed up on that, man, and made a career of it.
Right. So happy, healthy. I know you're a devout Christian. You're very close to your family man, as you just mentioned. So life is good, just regular 9 to 5.
Absolutely, man. Life is great. It's a lot more than a regular 9 to 5. Like I said, I do a lot of the ministry stuff. And I've got really flexible hours. I kind of, I call the shots here, man. So I do what I want. As long as things are rolling smooth and everything's good, it works out really well.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. So
it gives me time to train every night as well. I still stay very active. Like I said, I got a group of guys that work here for me and with me, and I make it part of the job, man. They have to get in there and work out with me every day, so it keeps the old man in shape.
Keeps the old man in shape and keeps the guys under you in line, I'd imagine.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, that was going to be my next question. It sounds like you do train a lot daily, and you're still involved in the sport.
Yeah, absolutely. Just when this bare knuckle thing jumped out, I was, I seen it right away, and it caught my attention. Just, I always said, I wish we could just punch each other. And not worry about the takedowns, not worry about getting kicked or kneed in the head. I just wish we could stand in front of each other and just, draw a line in the sand and see who the better man was. And when I seen this sport come up, I was like, why did this come years after I was out? But, I was talking to the group and talked to Cowboy and Dwayne Ludwig and everybody else, and I was like, man, what do you guys think about this sport? What do you see? And everybody always tells me the same thing. It's a tailor-made sport for a guy like you.
Right.
So it kind of makes sense, I don't know if it's what do they call it? A middle-aged
midlife crisis. Yeah.
Yeah. And I guess we won't know until I get in there, But it's just an interesting thought right now. With the beef that had come up with Cowboy and Diego, it just kind of opened the door to it, and I got a little emotional and thought that was the best way to handle it, and I just kind of put the idea out there.
Right. Well, again, you jumped ahead a bit on me here, but since you're bringing it up, we might as well get to it now. It's funny you mentioned that because I had Phil Baroni on a few weeks ago, and he has a bare knuckle fight. I guess, you know, the federation there has been reaching out to a lot of former MMA guys or guys that aren't as active as they used to be, and he had said the exact same thing. He said, this thing was tailor-made for me. This is the kind of stuff that I thrive in, these kind of battles. I would love it. And immediately when I thought of you and you mentioned this, I thought, oh my God, this would be perfect for Leonard. So,
yeah.
Needless to say, regardless of all the stuff, you know, with Diego and everything, I'd like to get into that in a moment, but it sounds to me like the BKFF or BKBFF, they've reached out to you?
They have. Yes, sir.
And it sounds to me like regardless of Diego or anything, you're looking at doing this.
Yes, absolutely. We've you know, I've talked to my wife about it. You know, I mean that's the thing. It's just like now, you know, she's my partner in everything I do, man. So we put our heads together. We thought about it long and hard, and you know, it's you know, I left the sport. I felt like I left the sport. I should have left it in a better form or fashion. I don't feel like I left. I feel like I left a mark. I just don't feel like I left the mark that I wanted to leave. You know, I wanted to walk away on a win like everybody else does.
Of course.
And you know, since that didn't happen, I feel like it left a big page. You know, a next chapter in life to get to it. But I also always have that, and I don't want to become the old dude that thought he should have when he had the chance, or thought, well, you know, I could have done this or I could have done that. You know, I've always done everything, you know, kind of spur of the moment type deal, and was like, yeah, I'm just going to go for it. And I don't think this should change anything. I think this should be the same way. So I kind of feel like it's a great idea. We like it. We have talked to, you know, these guys about it. WBKF, we have spoken to them several times. Matter of fact, I spoke to them today. So, you know, it's definitely something that's going to happen.
Wow, man. So you heard it here first. BJPenn.com radio. The fighter's voice, Leonard Garcia, is going to come out of retirement for a bare knuckle fight. That is the news.
Yes, sir.
Tremendous, man. All right, so listen, let's backtrack a bit here.
Okay.
You had made some headlines this week when you chimed in about this beef on Cowboy Cerrone and JacksonWink, rather. Obviously, as you just mentioned, you didn't really get into specifics, but you always had your back for your brother Cowboy, as you always will, and you addressed Diego Sanchez, like you just mentioned. Before we get into the challenge that you made, you know what I mean, like specifically why and maybe that beef with Diego to that extent, what made you want to challenge him. How long, in your opinion, how long has this tension between Cowboy and JacksonWink been growing, based on your perspective?
You know, from what I've seen, and you know, from what I see, I watched it all happen. I watched it all unfold. Of course, you know, me and Cowboy, I actually got there first and brought Cowboy in, and then he just never left. You know, and it kind of worked that way, and then you know, I played out my career, ran its course, and then Cowboy really started blowing up. Well, during the time of him blowing up, the gym really started changing. It started becoming a little more money driven. A couple things were changing. You know, there was kind of alliances being made behind closed doors. Some of the real tight-knit people, you know, would kind of have meetings. You've seen, you know, longtime members leave. Just a bunch of different things. You know, you could kind of see it happening.
The writing was on the wall.
Yes, the writing was exactly. So eventually, it was going to become more of a, you know, I would say more of a Mike Winklejohn's kind of setup. You know, the way he wanted to run things, and understandably, he's the one that paid the money to have it that way. So I mean, at the end of the day, you know, you can't argue with the owner. You know, it's kind of one of those things. You know, you just kind of either you fall in or you fall out.
Right.
Well, Cowboy decided that, you know, he loved Greg. He always wanted to stay with Greg. He didn't want to go anywhere. So he was like, you know, I'm just gonna I'm gonna kind of just stick around. I'm gonna be here. I'm gonna use Greg to come over to the house and help get me ready for my fights. And I'll still come into Jackson's and use the guys as training partners when I need them. So I kind of understand their take. I kind of understand the coach's take. I understand what Wink did, and you know what? To me, it makes sense what he did. He chose Mike Perry over Cowboy because Mike Perry uses him and Cowboy doesn't, and it's his gym. That makes sense to me. You know what? That happened. Great. It worked out that way. Cowboy really didn't spend a lot of time there, but it became an issue because Cowboy is telling Greg, well, what if I want to come into this place. I don't want at the end of the day, fighting is like a really big mental battle.
Of course.
Within yourself. You sit in that corner and you ask yourself questions. Nobody else knows this, but you ask yourself questions when you're sitting in the corner. When they're giving you instructions, giving you water, you're thinking in your head. You're trying to listen to what they're saying. You're trying to assess how you were doing that round. You try to think of everything you did to get prepared. You try to think of different things, but so many things are running through your mind. What does he know? Why was he confident in this area? Why did he smirk whenever I did this? Why did he, you ask yourself every question in the book because why? It's a competitive battle. It's a fight. You're fighting tooth and nail. You're trying to knock the other guy out, or you're trying to finish him, and it's just it's war. I mean it's a fight. So all these mental things are playing out in your head. Now in preparation, if you're thinking, man, he's where I used to be. He's around all the people that I've trained with for years. He's in there with the coaches that have trained me for all these years. What does he know? So Cowboy just went to Greg and tells him, how about just for this camp, you don't let him train here.
Right.
On the simple fact that I can't, I don't want him knowing all these things. But if you can't, I respectfully understand it's not going to change anything because at the end of the day, he's still got to get in there against me. I still got to get in there against him. And in reality, you can't learn something about somebody in a few months. You can learn enough to kind of get a game plan ready, but you can't learn everything that you need to know. And both of their dynamics, it makes for a great fight either way. So
absolutely. But to stick with what you're saying here, at the end of the day, man, I mean, it's like when you combine with that loyalty with what you're talking about, somebody knowing your tendencies, whatever those things, having those tricks up their sleeves, those secrets on the opposing side, I mean, that hurts. That hurts to think that a team that you've been with for over a decade. I mean, I can completely understand where Cowboy's coming from on that.
So then when Cowboy said what he said about their coaches and said what he said about everything else, I felt like, man, I kind of felt bad, and I was like, you know what? It is what it is. He said what he had to say. It's the coaches they'll do what they've always done. When it happened with John Jones and Rashad, nobody really said anything about it. It kind of flew under the radar and it was over with. When it happened, it always happens. Like this thing always plays out because there's very few top MMA gyms and there's so many people that want to go there and so many people that can get there. There's not like an exclusive club here or there that they're like, oh, that's it. Only this number of people can come here. It turns into what Jackson's is now. It turns into, okay, however many guys we get here to pay the monthly bills is going to pay the rent, and that's what we're going to do. So, with all that being said, he says what he has to say about the coaches. Didn't say anything about the fighters. And that's why it struck a nerve when Diego decided to jump in and say something. And by all means, I've got tons of respect for Diego. Man, he's been one of my favorite fighters for a number of years. I think his attitude towards fighting is great. The dude is a wild man. He's crazy. And I'll be honest, it was scary to call a dude like Diego out in a bare knuckle match. I mean, that's, dude. Tell me who wants to see Diego like that? You know what I mean? Like it's a scary thought. But at the end of the day, I thought about it and I was like, you know what? If Diego's that amped up about it and he really, feels like whatever, I know he's kind of on his last fights in the UFC. And I mean, it wouldn't be completely out of the question for him to say, you know what? I know I'm on my last few fights. Bare knuckles is paying pretty well. You know what? This might be a crazy fight. I definitely did it with the thought that he would say, you know what? Let's do it. And I mean, and that's, kind of where it came from, man. That's kind of, it was a lot of thinking behind it. Some anxiety, some second thoughts. I was like, man, I don't know if I should do this. This dude is nuts.
Right. So it wasn't like you were doing this out of emotion. This was premeditated. You thought about it before you challenged him and released that statement a couple days ago.
For 4 days.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I talked to Cowboy. Told Cowboy, I didn't tell Cowboy what I was going to do. I just kind of thought, man, it's kind of messed up, man. What happened? I sat down and I talked to my wife. I talked to my pastor. I told him what was going on, and it wasn't out of anger. That's why. I was thinking to myself, it's not out of anger. It's not out of anything. It's out of the actual loyalty and everything that went into it. You know what I mean? Like Diego was there when me and Cowboy were there. And then for him to kind of choose sides and say, well, Platinum Mike Perry's been helping me and doing this and doing that. So it like all steamrolled, and it kind of got me to where I was like, you know what? If, in fact, he is that frustrated and that mad and he's willing to take a fight against Cowboy, you know what? Cowboy has brothers too. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like nobody else was speaking up for him. Nobody else was doing anything. So I said, you know what? And it sucked, man, because Diego's a good friend of mine. He is man. I mean,
well, you all came up together, man. You all came up together. You share something that not a lot of people share together.
Yeah. So like I said, man, this by no means was in any way trying to be disrespectful. This was in no means me trying to get attention. I mean, if you want attention, there's better ways to get it than to calling out a crazy dude like Diego Sanchez in a bare knuckle match. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
It had nothing to do with that, man. It all kind of came to a point where I had to make a decision. And I'm like, you know what? He went on social media and said what he had to say. I'm gonna give him an opportunity to say it to me. I told Cowboy, look, man, you worry about your fight. You worry about getting ready and handling what you got to handle. Don't worry about what Diego said. Don't worry about what anybody else says. I'll kind of try to jump in there and bridge that gap so you clear your mind of any of that crap. You haven't trained with him long enough for him to give any of your secrets. He knows you. But, hell, everybody knows you're a crazy athletic dude. They know that you can do this. They know you can do that. We know what he's getting ready for, man. We know what... Mike Perry's going to try to hit him to the liver. He's going to try to hit him hard, early and fast. I mean, these are all things that we know Cowboys' opponents are going to do. So, we just have to counter all that. You know what I mean? We have to get in there.
So a lot of this for you, not only was this an opportunity presenting itself that you thought about, reflected on for a while, and came to this conclusion, but you're also doing this to give assurance to your, arguably your best friend in the business.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, now Mike Perry had told me that Cowboy had asked the coaching staff not to train Mike for their upcoming fight, like we were just talking about, out of respect for him and loyalty and whatnot, and that Mike believed that's where it all started. But based on, everything you just explained to me, that was just the tip of the iceberg. Yeah,
absolutely. It wasn't just for that. It was a number of things, like, hey, I mean, not just out of respect for him, but like, man, come on, you guys, I've trusted you guys for this many years. Maybe I've told you guys some things that I might worry about if you guys tell him.
Yeah.
And
yeah,
it's just out of respect, like give me that, give me at least that. But at the end of the day, man, with anything else, man, there's so many driving factors in this sport, and money's always been one of them. And I mean,
hey, man, you just look at where the sport's at today, and that's very evident that money is the driving factor here. So
absolutely, man. So I'm just, like I said, man, it presented itself. I thought it was a good idea to get in there and have somebody go to bat for Cowboy as well. You know what I mean? I mean, he needs support as well. And the only reason it was towards Diego, it could have been, I didn't attack any of the coaching staff. I kind of understand where that's at. Money is a driving factor, and okay, fine. But the only reason I got on there and said anything to Diego is because I felt like, as a fighter, he shouldn't have jumped into it.
Right. Now, listen, you were with JacksonWink for your entire professional career, if I'm not mistaken. And let me preface all this by saying I would never ask you to speak on something that you're not comfortable with, any of these accusations, whatever the case is. But Cowboy did make some scathing accusations on the Joe Rogan podcast. The coach is selling steroids to high school kids, the wrestling coach, Winklejohn being a liar, money hungry, money being the driving force is kind of what you're telling me already. But what can you say about all those things from your perspective, if you even care to speak on it at all?
Yeah, I mean, the coach that's in there right now, the wrestling coach, I have no idea. Like, I've never met him, don't know anything about him. I know he's a good friend with Diego Sanchez. I will say this about Cowboy. Cowboy talks trash about a lot of things, but he the good thing is Cowboy's just a super honest guy. He gets in trouble for calling it like it is. He doesn't have a filter, so he says stuff sometimes that gets him in trouble. For instance, on that podcast, what did the idiot say? That he transported drugs into somewhere, allegedly. It's like, come on, dude. You can't say stuff like that, But he's he's honest, man. I mean,
he definitely comes off as a straight shooter, and I get what you're saying. Sometimes honesty is a pretty painful medicine.
Yeah, and that's the thing. So if he said the dude was selling steroids, it's because he's seen that report somewhere. You know what I mean? If he said he was, like I said, he doesn't really talk out of turn. If he said something, it's because he has, especially something like that, an accusation or something. He usually won't say it unless there's concrete evidence. So I truly believe he has concrete evidence to support what he said. Do I know that happened? Absolutely not. So I won't even say that I know for sure. Or yes, no, maybe. I don't know. I don't even know the guy. So did he sell drugs to some kid in high school? I have no idea.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. Fair enough. Because, but based on what Cowboy is saying, it seems like, all of those things, all of those accusations, those are all separate incidents that led to him leaving. But this whole situation with Winklejohn and Jackson, it sounds like overall stepping back, having Mike Winklejohn, kind of run the show, that caused the decline in the gym. And, so many big names have parted ways over the years. Like you mentioned earlier, Cowboy spilling the beans on everything now. It makes me wonder how many other athletes this kind of thing has happened to before.
Yeah, I mean, I know there's been a lot of close relationships, long-standing relationships. One of the coaches when I was there, Coach Luttrell, he was one of the when I got to Jackson's, he was one of the head coaches. Had a class every week that we used to all attend, and all of a sudden he was gone, and so little by little, man, the coaching staff kind of changed a lot. And I mean, hell, I guess in anything that you do, there's going to be a lot of changes. There's especially in this sport, but I really feel like now it has really turned. Like, he said if a bum pays a little bit of money, he'll be in there sparring with Holly Holm. As that's as simple as he put it. He said that. He said that's a true story. He said he can back that up with proof. So I believe it, man. And it sucks, man.
So you haven't been affiliated with JacksonWink in quite some time then?
Man, it's been what, 3 years.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, since I've been there last, and like I said, I have seen a lot of the posts, a lot of the new coaches. But everything is different. You see dudes posting on Instagram. That little number that they got in there saying the best fighters in the world walk through these doors. I've seen that posted on so many people's so many people's Snapchats and little stories and this and that. Just it's a big deal now. I know when I was there, that wouldn't happen.
Yeah.
You could not walk into the old gym on Acoma, 5505 Acoma. They used to lock the doors sometimes for the pro practices. You basically couldn't come in unless you had a key.
And that's the way it should be. That's the way it should be. Exclusive access to the professionals that are in there getting ready for a fight. And like Joe Rogan said on that podcast, boxing would never do that.
No.
That would be completely out of question. You're training for a prize fight with a bunch of money on the line, your legacy on the line as well. You would be keeping as many things secret as you could.
Absolutely.
And not endangering your athlete.
Yeah, and then not being in jail. You hear these guys saying, "Oh hell, I walked in there and it was a full-on fight." Anybody who has any sense will tell you don't need that getting ready for a fight. You do enough fighting in the cage. You need to have proper preparation and, getting your skill sets down, getting everything ready to go, fine-tuned, everything else. You don't need a full-on fight. You dang sure don't need to be fighting no bums off the street.
Right.
Because they got,
and that's a serious accusation, man, saying that taking a bum off the street to go get beat up, that's pretty crazy.
Yeah, like I said, I think the closest I seen to that was when we were at Jackson's. We would have these crazy, and I guess every MMA gym has it, where you would have this crazy karate dude that would walk in and say, "You know what? MMA's gangster and everything, but my Kung Fu Kai or whatever it is that I got, it's a secret to it all, and I can prove it now by demonstration. I'll spar one of these dudes," and they'd be like, Cowboy or Leonard, you're up. Let's see what's going on. And I've seen that happen before, but like I said, the guy
every gym has that story. The guy comes in and says, his chi is far stronger than yours, and
absolutely
he gets pummeled to a bloody mess.
Yeah. And that's I've been a part of that. I've actually been the dude that got to prove that his style wasn't the right one. Hey, you might want to come in here and take some classes.
Yeah,
but
right.
That that was the closest that it ever came to it being the way it is now. And according to Cowboy and them, and to everybody else, that's what it is. If you got the money to get through the door, you're in.
So where does this leave you with JacksonWink? You're talking about coming back for a bare knuckle fight. Are you just gonna no longer affiliate yourself with the gym, or are you kind of distancing yourself from that now?
Yeah, well, I did do my last fight camp with them. For this matchup specifically, I would always go to my longtime training partner, / coach Dwayne Ludwig. He's my cousin. He married my cousin Jessica Ludwig. Well, she wasn't Ludwig before, but she is now.
Right.
He married my cousin Jess. He's always been a part of all my big fights. He's always been the guy to get me ready. Him, possibly Mike Valley, who used to hold pads for me.
Of course.
It's no longer a thought of MMA. There's no wrestling, no jiu-jitsu. But if I had to go back, I would just go to the BMF ranks if I was going to fight MMA. And I would fall in with Cowboy, and I would just stay away from Jackson's.
Okay. Now you mentioned Dwayne Ludwig there. I know you guys were always tight. It's funny. I remember way back in the day interviewing you, and then Dwayne right after. You guys would be telling me to say one thing to the other guy and whatnot. But good times. I know you guys have always been tight. That being said, though, does he know that you're planning to come out of retirement?
Yeah, we've talked about it. We've had 3 or 4 conversations about it. He told me absolutely, if I do come back, he's going to help me get ready for it. So it's a good deal. I'm
yeah. What better guy to any striking art? What better guy to have coaching you? I mean, he's so meticulous.
Yeah. I'm even putting in a special request, man, to have him help Cowboy get ready for this Mike Perry fight. It's what I'm kind of hoping is going to happen.
Well, I mean, with Cowboy, dude, I'm right there with you 100%, because as soon as Cowboy said he's going back to Denver, I immediately think to myself, Dwayne Ludwig, Trevor Whitman as well. I mean, both those guys would only be immensely beneficial to Cowboy if he had an opportunity to work with them both.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, to me, what Dwayne sees and what he can teach, I mean, TJ is TJ's, I mean, of course, he's the model. He's the I mean, heck, if you just see what TJ's able to do now under the tutelage of Dwayne, I mean, why wouldn't you want to go train with Dwayne Ludwig?
Right.
But, it's just one of those things, man. It just makes perfect sense. I hope that him and Cowboy can come to an agreement, and, that once that happens, then I think it'll all fall into place, man. Cowboy will go do his camp there, and then hopefully I can get out there and do mine. And we'll just see how it plays out.
Awesome, man. Awesome. It sounds like this all sounds very familiar to me. It feels familiar and it feels good, and I'm sure it feels good for you too.
Absolutely.
Oh, it's a beautiful thing, man. So getting back to getting away from the JacksonWink beef and back to this fight, this potential fight, are you thinking just one and done? Are you thinking a couple of them? I mean, it sounds like the money's right, and who doesn't like a big payday for going in there and doing something they love?
Yeah, absolutely. We discussed that, me and my wife, and with anything, you don't want to one and done anything. I would think that the smartest thing to do would be to sign a 3-fight deal.
Okay.
See how the first one plays out, and then get better and stronger by the second one, and then hopefully get the last one in before I hit 40. Man, I really didn't ever plan on fighting past 40 years. My original plan was to fight till I was 40 years old. We kind of got away from that due to, there were several things, man, that happened, that played out, that led to an early retirement. It was a number of things. A couple of things didn't work out. They didn't pan out. I had some issues with the IRS that were pretty stressful. And,
those bastards.
Yeah, it's, hell, if they gave me an IRS agent in the second or third fight, I'd retire after that because I'd probably be in jail. I wouldn't be able to fight from behind bars. No, I'm kidding, man. Man, if I got any advice to any of you young fighters out there, man, pay your taxes. I mean, heck, the Bible even tells you got to do it. So, you got to listen. You got to do it, man.
Yeah, that's a brutal one. They always say get a good accountant behind you, and
absolutely, get a good wife and a good accountant.
Right, for sure. Now, what weight class? What weight would you are they proposing, and what weight would you like to compete at? Are you going to come back maybe a little heavier?
Yeah, I definitely won't be fighting at 45 anymore. I can still make 45. It's just too much of a strain. I feel like I just don't feel like that's the smartest thing to do, especially not in a bare knuckle match. Only because you dehydrate. It gives you more room for concussions. You get less fluid in your brain.
Yeah.
When you dehydrate, all of those things. So 55 or 65, man, is what we're looking at. 55 is. I'm at 180 right now. 180. I feel good. I'm pretty solid. I work out every day, so it's like a solid 180. I think I'd gained like 20 pounds whenever I quit fighting competitively, and it wasn't 20 good pounds. I had a little bit of not a belly, but it kind of looked like a little pudge. I got rid of that and started. That lasted for about 3 to 4 months. I always kid with Cowboy and tell him like 250 pounds, 300 pounds. Then he sees me at the fights and he's like, "You punk, you're this." So it's good, man. I think 155 or 165, wherever they feel the opponent is right. And like I said, I want to fight guys that I'm scared of. So I want challenges, because I think that's the only way I really show up for something.
All right, so two-part question here. One, are you thinking of a date already? And two, if Diego's not down for this, who else do you have in mind? Does anybody else come to mind immediately?
Man, there's a number of people that I think this guy Nick the Ghost Gonzalez, he's in the lightweight tournament. Me and him had a hell of a fight, MMA rules, and he kind of said that I shouldn't have choked him out, that I should have just threw hands the whole time. I felt like I did really good throwing hands with him. I felt like I got the better of him, but if he feels like I didn't, here's another opportunity. I think we had Fight of the Year at Legacy in 2016, I believe.
Right, I remember the Legacy
2015.
days,
yeah. So
it might have been 2015.
Yeah, 2015. Yeah, so everybody kind of watched that fight. I know he entered that tournament, the 155 tournament. So he's a guy that I'd like to, if he felt like it wasn't a fair win for me, and he thinks he could do better in this style of fight, I think I'll prove him wrong. That one makes sense. I don't know, man. I haven't seen enough of the people on the roster at those weight classes, but I don't know, man. I would throw my hat in there against anybody, bare knuckle.
Oh, of course. Well, you were always that way with mixed martial arts as well. You'd fight anybody anytime, but like you were saying earlier, man, and like I agree with you 100%, this really does lends itself, this rule set really lends itself to your style, and shit, man, I think you could have a lot of success with it.
Yeah, and like I said, man, I mean, I don't want to become that dude that's, looks geriatric and is out there
right, chasing glory.
Chasing, I don't know, man. If I get out there and I watch it and I question my skill set in any way, shape, or fashion, or if I look at it and I'm like, man, that doesn't even look good, then I'll respectfully step away. I'm not doing it for money or for anything else. It's just I still have a little bit of that itch, and then this format was made specifically for me. I believe that this was back in, I can't remember what era it was that these dudes used to fight with no gloves and just bare knuckle, but I believe that was my era. I should have been alive back then, but now I've got an opportunity to live now and do it. So, I'm going to get in there, man. I'm going to give it hell.
Hell yeah, brother. Very exciting stuff. I'm super pumped for it. I know the fans will be too, and I'm sure we'll be having you on the show several times in the lead up to it. But this all kind of comes to a point for me personally. I've always felt like you were one of the few guys that called it quits at the right time, especially considering everything that we've learned about traumatic brain injury over the past few years, seeing guys like Gary Goodridge and everything he's going through. You just said that obviously you don't want to go out there and not feel right, not look right. You don't want to go out there and be a geriatric, but you can't keep getting into wars and expect to live a long, happy life after fighting, right? A lot of people say that Diego himself is already punch drunk.
I don't know, man. I feel like his speech has changed over the years. I feel like he has had a lot of big wars. Unfortunately, he's been knocked out before. I have the privilege of saying I've never been knocked out. Never,
Shit, man, that's all ringing a bell. I completely forgot about that, dude. Never in all those crazy-ass wars you've been in have you ever been knocked out.
Never. I mean, I was hurt. I think Mike Brown, he hit me so hard that I felt my legs stop moving. I said, well, there goes my legs. And I remember hitting the ground and thinking, God dang it, I just fell down. And came right back around. That was the hardest I've ever been hit. And it was right behind the ear in a perfect spot. It wasn't Mike's fault. He threw the punch. I ducked my head that way. Right in the back of the head. Real close to where Diego just got elbowed. And, he folded like a lawn chair, man. I bounced up and bounced right back. Is an elbow and a punch 2 different strikes? Absolutely. But I just, I feel like I held my chin for all those years. I haven't taken any damage in the last, 3 years. I've just done nothing but a lot of bag work, a lot of movement. I actually keep my hands up now more than I ever have in my whole career. So hopefully that translates into this bare knuckle thing. But it's just I really feel like I still have some good years left. And but like you said, man, if I get out there and I get hit wrong and I feel like, man, this could affect what I'm doing now in life, I'll call it quits.
I got to tell you, man, it is awesome to hear. Not only is it awesome to talk to you again, but it's awesome to hear that you're coming back to competition again under this rule set and that you've thought about it. It's not a hasty, spur of the moment thing. This is something that you've really contemplated and thought out. And I think that, personally, I think that it should all work out and go well for you, man. And you'll get a couple of great fights in before you finally decide to hang them up for good. But listen, we've gone a long time here, almost 45 minutes. I greatly appreciate it. It's always a pleasure to speak with you, my friend. I guess in conclusion, though, please feel free to, get anything off your chest, any closing statement you want to make, and let us know when we should all expect to see you make this bare knuckle debut.
Man, you know what? Making the bare knuckle debut, I will get more details soon. It won't be until after December, so maybe January or February. So it's got to give myself a little time to prepare.
Of course.
Kind of line things out, make sure everything's fine, make sure the family's good. Of course, shout out to my church, FCF, Faith Christian Fellowship in Plainview, Texas, for standing behind me and always, helping me make great decisions in life and living a good, blessed life. My wife, of course, she's my partner, man. I can't do anything without her. Cowboy Cerrone for lighting this fire again, getting me back in there. Dwayne Ludwig for helping me get ready. Mike Valley as well for reaching out. Everybody, man, just
it takes a village.
Yeah, man, it really does, and if you want to make the proper comeback, you got to make the proper moves, you got to make the proper steps, and I think we're taking all those, and I just want everybody to know, man, when I do get back in there, it's going to be a great show. It's not going to be a circus act. It's going to be a hell of a fight. You guys know what I can do, and, I'm going to cut loose, man.
Man, anybody that knows you is always excited to watch you compete. What you bring to this sport is truly something special, truly a sight to behold, and I can't tell you enough how excited I am. But what would you say to all the fans that have supported you during your time off and are going to support you in this return? And where can everybody find you on social media to stay in touch?
Yeah, man, everybody out there, man, it's been, these last few years, man, running into people, having people hit me up on Facebook, Instagram, at Bad Boy Garcia on Instagram, at Bad Boy Garcia on Twitter, my Facebook, at, just Leonard Garcia. But, man, I've always appreciated you guys. I feel, man, you don't understand how good it feels for my kids to see somebody walk up to me and tell me, hey, man, we've loved all your fights. It's been a pleasure watching you all these years. It feels really good when my kids can see that and they get to, take one more ride before we truly decide to hang them up. And, that's it, man. I appreciate you guys. I go out there and give you guys everything I've got every time, man. And I'm glad that you guys have always appreciated that about me. And, that's it, man. That's why I do this.
For the love of it all, my friend.
That's absolutely, man. You gotta love a good fight.
Especially when the bad boy's involved. Listen, thanks again, Leonard. Anytime you want to catch up and speak your mind, please just hit me up. We always got a spot on bjpenn.com radio for you. And, of course, we'll catch up once a fight gets announced and help you promote this thing. Thank you so much for all this time you gave me today. I hope you have a wonderful evening, my friend. Much love, brother.
I appreciate you, brother.
All right, I'll talk to you soon.
Thank you.
Later.